Hello, my friend. I want to talk to you today about entitlement. Now, entitlement is a very interesting concept. It's a very interesting experience and a very interesting part of life. Some people are born with a natural sense of entitlement. They seem to believe that they are entitled to the best of everything and that they can just do as they wish because they're entitled to that, and other people should basically fit in around them. And then there are some people who learn from their parents that they're wonderful, and that can be a good thing. And it can be great for a child to feel that kind of affection and support, but it may also lead to a person becoming what we used to call spoiled and a little bit too sure of their own position in the world. So they end up with a very strong sense of entitlement also. And then there are most people like you and I, who are not born with a great sense of entitlement, but who gradually acquire a sense of what they may and what they may not be entitled to. So when I think about my own situation, I grew up without a very strong sense of entitlement because I grew up in a very pressurized situation post World War II in the Netherlands, and there was no space in my home until I was 17 years old. I lived in a tiny cramped space in a flat and had to share my own bedroom with my sister. In other words, I didn't have a bedroom of my own, and it was my elder sister's bedroom, and I had to fit in around it. So I didn't even have a sense of entitlement about my space in the world, let alone about being entitled to being respected by my sibling or to be respected by the world at large. So my story is a story of discovering what the limits of my entitlement were and what the possibilities of my entitlement were. And I worked very hard from the start to earn my entitlement, to prove to the world that I was worthy of being there, that I was allowed to be in the world, and I could earn my keep in the world, and I would never expect somebody else to pay my way or do things for me or to provide me with anything. I have always felt not just the work morality, but the feeling that I can only be entitled to a place in this world if I give more to the world than I take from it. And I realized that gradually over the years, by doing that, and by being very careful with the things that I acquire or that I consider to be entitled to, I have to be very careful that I don't slip into a position where I do take a lot of things for granted and I feel entitled to things in the world just because I've once earned them doesn't necessarily mean that I deserve them now. So entitlement, I think, is a very temporary thing, and many people either never have it to begin with, and then life is an uphill struggle to get a sense of safety and security and entitlement, and perhaps you never get it, and that means you keep working very hard at everything, at your relationships, at your work, at your home, at your garden, at your children, at your animals, at everything you do, or you take it for granted a lot of the time. And then when you lose something that you feel you're entitled to, it becomes a huge catastrophe, and you might think it's the end of the world. So finding the right balance with your sense of entitlement is a very important part of the art of living. Having too much of a sense of entitlement is as much of a danger to you as a person as having no sense of entitlement. And I think that to be aware of how you deal with your sense of entitlement and with other people's entitlement in a fair way is quite a skill to learn. And to learn that, of course, you have to start by observing yourself and how you relate to everything in the world that matters to you. So ask yourself, how entitled are you? And how entitled might you want to be? For instance, do you feel entitled to your life? Do you feel entitled to people's affection? Do you feel entitled to own things? Do you feel entitled to a home? Do you feel entitled to love? Do you feel entitled to being given things by other people? Or do you feel you need to earn whatever it is you use in the world and you have in the world and you enjoy in the world? Where is your balance with that? I know I'm still working at it every day of my life. It's a tricky one, entitlement. But I do know that those people who are too self-entitled become a problem to others. And I also know that those who lack any sense of self-entitlement, as I once did myself, also become a problem to themselves. It's very hard to live a good life in either of those extreme situations. So a lot to think about there, my friend. I hope it helps.